All right, Pat. This is the first time we've talked to you since the trade deadline, or the Twins.
Yes,
The
yes.
Twins must have missed their alarm clock. 5
Yes.
o'clock on Tuesday.
Well, they did get some guy named Floro or something a few days ago. But anyway,
That's true.
here's one. I've been plagued by this thought since I watched Correa strike out in the first inning last night and change channels. I couldn't stand it. The ball was over in the other batter's box and he swings at it. But why, as a group, Minnesota sports followers, even the non-baseball fans, how come we're more bothered by this team's mediocrity than all the other hundreds of years of mediocrity? Why is this team, why are they driving us crazier even than they did last year when they faded? When they had first place and they went away the last 2 months. It seems to me there is more like screaming at the television this year than normal than we've ever had, and I don't know why it is.
I think I know why.
They are disturbing. They are disturbing to watch.
Yes.
The strikeouts is part of it, but what else is it?
I think it's I have one main reason. I think one of the smaller reasons is just like a lot of it's just dumb stuff. It's just it's bad fielding here and there. It's strikeouts. You're not giving yourself a chance. But Minnesotans hate it when we are made to feel belittled, right? We hate it. We hate the coastal elites. We hate being flyover country, even though we kind of actually relish in it.
Yes.
And in this front office, when Terry Ryan and Ron Gardenhire were running things and things were bad, people got annoyed. But at the end of the day, Terry Ryan is one of us, man. Like, he's from Janesville, Wisconsin, and Ron Gardenhire is going fishing on the lakes, and you could see yourself
snowmobiling. He's going on snowmobile trips.
And so maybe I'm wrong on this, but it feels like from Derek Falvey to Rocco, the tone is sort of, we know what we're doing, fans and media. Okay, so if you could just quit poking at us, the things we're doing, you really wouldn't understand, is sort of the vibe that you're getting the last few years from my perspective.
Yeah, that could be part of it, because Terry, if he didn't make a trade, and say, nothing came together. There wouldn't be some big long sermon on why no trade was made, and the market. Well, the market became smaller on trade deadline day. Well, no kidding. Okay, when other trades are made, that's the purpose of deadline day, right? To make the market smaller. It's not like, how did this happen? It became smaller. Yeah, of course it did.
But that's another thing. It's everything. And remember, a few years ago, they were like trying to get a pitcher at the trade deadline. And, the Blue Jays just wouldn't call us back. Everything is out of their control. What are we supposed to do? The market was what it was. Players got injured. I don't know. Like, it's always this big shoulder shrug of, listen, we did everything we could and everything else is failing us.
But even with that, it's what we see that's driving us nuts, right? It's what we see. And I guess it starts with a tremendous number of bad at-bats, doesn't it? I don't know, Judd. What do you think? Just a tremendous. I mean, Carlos Correa, you're a 275 hitter, and you've struck out this year. The only time you don't strike out is when we want you to, rather than hit into a double play. I mean, what? How can a guy like that? And I don't care about the $200 million, but how can a guy like that just strike out in a pitch over in the other strike zone, over in the other batter's box to start the inning? I don't get it. I don't. They are just. I don't know. They did such stupid things in the offseason, bringing in Joey Gallo and all that. I guess and the fact it's so easy to be successful this year is probably part of it too, right? That you don't have to be any good.
They're an unlikable team. I would argue that it's not a likable franchise right now. But yeah, the division's embarrassing. I think that's a big part of it. Like, everybody knows Cleveland's begging you, run away with it here. We're going to trade our ace. And you cannot, the level of consistency. And I love how we're still talking about, well, in fact, I saw in the Star Tribune today a quote from Gallo about something along the lines of, we haven't played our best baseball yet. It's after August 1st, Joey. That ain't going to change here now. I think it starts with, this is not, to me, this is not a likable collection. I don't know. I mean, they might be good guys separated, but there are some teams, and this is the most unlikable Twins team since that 2018 debacle with a bunch of guys who were pissed off they didn't get paid.
Yes, well, and Joey, you did play your baseball, but your best baseball, but it ended on tax day. April 15th, 10-4. Yeah, that was your best baseball. That was it, baby. Yeah. Hey, this is a pretty good team, and you haven't been worth a damn ever since. So I don't know what it is, but but it is because I think there's a misperception of how much talent is here too, right? I mean, they're not that good, and Buxton. But to admit they aren't that good, you got to admit Correa's not nearly as good as you thought he was, and Buxton's finished. Then they become not that good. So I don't know what it is, but they're harder. The games are going faster. Everything, the pitching has for the most part been better, but they're still hard to watch. They're harder to watch than they have been in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Do you think? I don't know. We'll see how the season finishes. But what would you do if you're the poll ads? Do you think the poll ads are going to look at actual change if barring a run of some kind, right? Do you think this is enough to embarrass them enough to say, all right, let's shake the tree?
Well, I think you'd have to tell me if Jim and Bob overruled Joe, or as Joe got autonomy. I think if Joe is, you do the, I'm Jim, I'm still going to the owners' meetings, so I think in the paperwork, he's still the boss, but Joe is the daily runner of the franchise. If they let him do what he wants to do, I think there'll be a change. But I don't think it'll be Falvey. I think it'd be Rocco. Because it's easier. It's always easier to fire a manager. If you fire Falvey, what do? Take 200 guys out of the front office with him? I mean, all these Talk and all these guys. I mean, what do you do? Did you break up the whole operation? I don't know how it works, but anyway, they sneak out a game on. The first game in this series is against St. Louis. And you say, boy, how'd St. Louis lose that game? And then yesterday, this guy, Daniel Hudson, the only reason he's starting. Dakota Hudson. Yeah, there's a Daniel. Dakota Hudson. The only reason he's starting is because they traded 2 starters. And you don't get a hit till the 6th inning, for God's sakes. Unbelievable.
Joe Ryan, too, Patrick. What's up there, do you think?
I don't know, but I was a week ahead of manager Baldelli on this because I said I would give him I'd take him out of the rotation here for a couple of weeks. I'd skip at least one start here and have him kind of refresh his arm. I think everybody says the stuff's the same. The stuff can't be the same when you're giving up ungodly numbers of home runs. So I think he. When Keuchel was over there pitching pretty good, if you DL him, you got to do it for 15 days. But you could, if he makes a start, and then you DL him, and then you skip him twice, he's still starting, and he's only missing 2 starts if you DL him. Mm-hmm. And I think he just arm weariness or something. There's something wrong because, home runs are just it's incredible. What's been incredible last night, wasn't it 3 and 5 at bats? And he 3 and 5 at bats in one period. Yeah, it's.
Is there still time? Do we still have a window to call Dallas Keuchel? Are we still in the 48-hour window where we can say, hey, Dallas, just hang tight for 4 more days?
He opted, but he hadn't signed one. I think you can just bring him back and put him on a big league roster, can't you? I do. Yeah. Because he opts out doesn't mean he can't opt back in. Not that I'm that excited about seeing that slop. But
it's a former Cy Young Award winner. Let's go.
Yes, he is.
9 years ago. But,
it is just, it's amazing to me. I actually saw Correa. I've been watching this Spanish crime series, Malacca. I recommend it. Malacca, Malaka. It's pretty good. But I'd watched an episode, then the game started and Correa struck out. And I said, the hell with it. I'm going to go back and watch
You want it back?
Spanish crime show. What if they struck out on a pitch over the other batter's box? Yeah. I said, I'm not doing it. Then I turned back every once in a while, and Dakota Hudson still had his no-hitter going. They're no fun to watch play baseball. I guess that's why we don't like them, right?
You know, or fine, because just to go back to your Falvey stuff and like the 200, if you got rid of Falvey, would because they tripled or whatever, quadrupled the amount of people working in the organization. I think what we're finding, if you go back to the second year at Target Field, so 2011, it's been 13 seasons since that 2011 debacle. They've only had one season where they've won more than 85 games in those 13 years. Now, there was a pandemic year where they were on pace to probably win 85, but so call it 2. I think what we're finding out here is whether Terry Ryan and Bill Smith are running the organization with, a shoestring budget, or whether Derek Falvey is in here with analytics and a staff of, computer scientists. There's a lot of ways to win 78 ball games. That's what we're finding out here, Pat.
Yeah, there are. And, if they ever remodel baseball, get expansion and go to larger divisions or something, you'd be complaining less about him this year because they'd be 6th. They'd be complete also-rans, 14 games out of the playoffs, and you wouldn't even have to, complain about him. Even the BSNs couldn't try to make us feel good about it if it wasn't for the Central Division. But
you don't know that, Pat. I bet they could. I bet they could come up with something.
Yeah, I didn't get to hear much of it last night. I gave it up. Who'd really like to tell the truth, but he can't? Smalley. When he sees some of these dumb plays, but he can't be as candid as he used to be. He's not I guess it's not allowed anymore. But
speaking of Smalley's era, by the way, I saw a video today that today is the 36th anniversary of Grizzled Joe Necro with a nail file and a piece of sandpaper in his pocket.
Cheetah's Day. Cheetah's over at if you want to go, you probably stop over at Mancini's. Tim's the day. I think Tim's still the day manager over there at the bar, so you could stop and BS about it if you wanted to. He's great. Yeah, he was sitting there, and all of a sudden they saw it flip out of his back pocket.
He went.
That was
just like that.
But what caused the initial? So Tim Cheetah. So
saw baseball.
He throws a pitch. And it darts over the middle, and Cheetah calls it a strike, and then calls time and starts looking at the baseball. What caused him to look at the baseball?
Guys, I don't know. It must have done it. I've talked about it. It must have done something that he didn't believe that should be done, or maybe the hitter, because when they got the baseball, it was gouged, right? When he looked at the baseball. He got the baseball, and that's when they went out for the inspection.
The inspection's one of the greatest things of all time, though. Because when Joe, he literally just pulls the nail file out of his pocket, flips it away, and hopes no one sees it. And the umpire's head and eyes follow the damn, you can see it in slow motion. I've seen it before. It's hilarious.
You know what? Baseball being crazier about that stuff now than ever. They wouldn't allow him to go on to Letterman with the
tool belt.
The tool belt, would they? That would not be allowed. That was pretty good. Joe died young. Joe is no longer with us. Joe died young. That was too bad. Seemed like a decent enough fella. Didn't get much use out of him though.
Well, but he did pitch in one of the World Series. Was it one of the losses in St. Louis? He did pitch in one of the World Series games in '87.
Carlton too. They didn't get anything out of him either when he came up. But that's the greatest cut line ever in history of the St. Paul Dispatch. So we were still going, and they had a picture of up there at next to the president on that little platform they built, and Carlton was standing behind the group, and he had sunglasses on, and they identified him as a Secret Service agent just without ever. Somebody just wrote the cut line saying, "Oh, he's got sunglasses on. He must be a Secret
Must
Service
be security."
agent.
Yep.
Next to the thing.
That's
So
amazing.
anyhow, we mentioned this coming in, just BSing beforehand. What is going on in college football, boys?
Yeah,
Now
so the Pac-12 and the ACC look like they're on life support soon here.
Yeah, can it actually end up being 3 conferences?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so we'd have like 3 kind of 20-ish team power conferences.
Is that
right?
good? Then what are you going to? I don't like it. I don't like it. Do you? I like to know who I'm going to play this annually, and you're only going to have.
It'd be more like the NFL.
3 common opponents, right? 2 or 3.
Yeah, you'd have
Wisconsin.
divisions. I'm sure it'd be like the NFL basically. You'd have like 3 different. You'd have AFC, NFC, and like WFC or whatever.
Yeah,
and you'd have your like regional opponents, and then you'd kind of move around the rest of your conference.
Because they're Miami, Florida State, and Clemson are all, and North Carolina are all willing to bail. Virginia, they want Virginia too because they think it touches Washington D.C. Nobody in Washington D.C.
Big Ten Network,
gives
Pat.
a damn about Virginia. Nobody.
That's all they
cares.
care about. Distribution.
But it's
Big Ten Network.
So if you get, what is Notre Dame going to do? Well, Notre Dame can't stand out here on the sidelines independently.
It'd be great if they did, right? If we
Phil, what's your team going to do?
Let's stay independent. Stay with NBC.
But they
stay independent.
Well, somebody
play Navy every week. That's what they're going to do.
NBC's going to have to up the ante though, because they're only making 20. From NBC, I think it's only 20. And
Okay.
which Notre Dame's getting $20 million for football. Wow! Now, one reason they want a couple of these teams is they don't have to give them full shares right away, right?
Okay.
There's some situation because of the ACC and stuff, but God, it's incredible. It's just amazing. Why don't what they should do is just make football a separate entity, don't you think? And then have
They're going to eventually, right?
Yeah.
Here's the idea.
NCAA doesn't have any power over.
It's a professional sport.
Yeah.
But here's what we could do so let's say we have the 3 power conferences. So there's like 60-ish power. I'll call them power 3 teams, and we get rid. So let's scrap the bowl games for a second. And let's build. So we're going to build out like an 8 or maybe a 12-team college football playoff. Maybe
12.
16. But what we could also do is we could have, instead of like a conference championship game, you could have conference playoffs. So you could have at least a 4-team or 6-team conference tournament that then leads into. You could play tournaments for.
The only trouble, though, is you can't get them to play. You can't get them up to 18, 19 games, can you? Because if you got 13, you're playing 13. Everybody wants 12 in the regular season now. 12 in the regular season. But
can't we get rid of like the games against directional division?
Yeah, the cream puffs can
schools.
Kill the cream puff games.
Play 12 actual games. Get rid of.
There's a lot of coaches there. Of course, if it wasn't bowl eligibility, then maybe you didn't have to play the cream puff games, right?
Right.
Right.
And plus TV, I think, is eventually going to dictate that they have no interest in showing the Gophers in Eastern Carolina.
Yes, that's true. But you got your ESPN running the SEC, and then you got a whole conglomerate running the Big Ten, right? And I don't know who. How about the Pac-12, though? They come out and say, we got this deal with Apple that nobody can watch, but
did they sign Messi? Did the Pac-12 sign Messi?
We got this deal with
Apple.
Well, I guess the big problem is nobody in California gives a damn about college sports. It's the biggest state in the union, but they don't care.
The Pac-12 is great. The Pac-12 is like, hey, we lost USC, UCLA, Colorado, and probably both Oregon and Washington, but we have a new deal with Apple TV.
Coming up on Palm Pilot TV.
Californians, Cal and Stanford are going to end up in the Mountain West. They're going to end up playing. Wyoming's coming to town. Look out. So,
yeah, it'll be Boise State, Wyoming, and Stanford.
Why wouldn't the Big Ten take Stanford? Wouldn't Stanford make sense?
Nobody goes to their games. Their TV ratings are horrible.
Okay.
And they got this. They spent a lot of money redoing their stadium, but nobody. Stanford and Cal are equally. Nobody gives a damn. Stanford is.
No.
Stanford has great women's athletics because the women are funny. They actually like to go places to get a good degree, unlike male athletes. Stanford, you get to go to Stanford and get a great degree. Now that can appeal to a nice young woman from Hopkins, but a player is, what's the deal, man?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with some. There's going to be a couple of these schools that do get sort of left out, or I don't know. It's a good question.
But let's keep telling everybody that PJ Fleck has done things that have not been done at Minnesota in 100 years, including winning 9 games a certain number of times, even though Bernie Bierman won several national championships when they only played 8. This is better. 9-4 is better than 8-0 and winning a national championship. Just remember that. And if you don't believe it, go to Gopher Hole and listen to these morons tell you that he's done things that have never been done in the history of Minnesota.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many games it takes you to win 9. If you get there.
If you get 9.
That's right. Yeah. Very hard to get there when you only play 8 and they don't let you go to bowl games. It was also this Mace has been to more bowl games than the Gophers in history. Well, the fact that you couldn't go to one until the 50s, and then the only way you could go to one was to win the Big Ten. That kind of limited the opportunity.
You mean Bernie Bierman never had a chance at a MicronPC.com
never
bowl?
went to a bowl. Bernie,
The Model T Bowl.
Hell, we've been to Phoenix and Tucson to play in this bowl game. Bernie never took us there, did he? No.
The Blacksmith Bowl. Yeah.
That's
Let's go.
right. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It's the Model T Bowl. That's just kicking off right now. On NBC.
That's the worst thing about being old. Knowing the actual history and getting very upset when people are saying stuff.
You're not part of the cult. Come on, Pat. Join the cult.
Yeah, but it's what it's doing when I complain about that? That's what we call urinating into the wind right there.
Yep.
Nobody cares right there.
Old man yells at clouds.
Old man yells at
the
clouds.
new segment
Yes,
here
does.
on this show.
Doesn't make any difference.
All right, Pat.
gents.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again tomorrow. All right.
All right.
See you, Royce.
All right. We'll recap the night practice with Pat tomorrow. Presented today by Power Lodge and Miller Marine. So Power Lodge hitting a major milestone: 25 years of bringing action and excitement to Minnesota as your go-to destination for all things marine and power sports. And as part of their celebration at all of their Minnesota locations, Brainerd, Ramsey, Anemia, and Sauk Rapids, they roll up the red carpet with delicious food, amazing prices, fantastic giveaways, and special pricing. 25 days of deals to celebrate 25 years in business. PowerLodge.com.